Happy New Year. Hey, there we go. Look, we got everybody's here.
You can see y'all. I've been hearing you behind the scenes. I know some of you guys are putting in the work. Let's go.
Today's number 29. We're almost there. You know, Jonathan Sandor's here, and in this challenge, you guys will find out more this weekend, but Jonathan just cranked and got his first deal in less than 30 days, which is amazing. We have so many other people moving it forward. They're learning the skills, they're capturing the right mindset, and they're really making genuine results. The intangible results, which is how we feel about ourselves, how we feel about the business, the knowledge we're acquiring, the confidence we're building, and then the actual tangible result, which is the dollars in the bank, the properties under ownership. It's both of them, and we care about both, the tangible and the intangible here. I'm gonna identify some things that will help you in 2026. Don't take this lightly. You may have heard some of this before, but I want you to think about it in a very introspective and personal way. The first thing I believe it takes for us to win in 2026 is that we create and develop new belief. Now, most of us are not going to start with belief. Why? Growing up, I think a lot of your dreams were shattered by other people who didn't fulfill their own. And so over time, a lot of other people didn't support you in the way you needed support, and they often probably challenged you or questioned you, and it's easier to kill a dream than to support one. That's what I've noticed. And so we try to be the supporter of dreams. And so most people have had their beliefs kind of slashed over the years, and so it's hard to believe, and people become cynical. But if we can say, we believe, and what's the new thing that'll help develop belief? And to me, it's proof. When we do 30 days to the deal, we are creating proof. We're creating proof that Brooke can pick up the phone and absolutely crush it. Where the first time I was with her in person at one of our retreats, I was like, you got this. And she's like, I don't know. And then she picked up the phone and she did amazing. There was that initial fear, that initial doubt, okay? Because if you can have enough doubt, and if the enemy can place enough doubt inside of your brain, then you're just not gonna do the work. And so we're looking for proof, and so we're creating proof here. So belief is very important. So in the chat, as we move it forward, what do you believe is possible for your life in 2026? Have a little courage today. The first day of the year, tell me, what do you believe you deserve, and what do you believe is possible in 2026? Let me know. Tell me in the chat. I'm watching right now. It's important you develop new belief, fresh belief, because without belief, we have nothing. Once we've developed the belief, and many of you have it, you're like, I'm good to go. I have tons and tons of belief. And Ben, so now I want to win. I want to go ahead and build it through. The next thing I believe is this. It's the word called conviction. Now, here's where this becomes interesting. You ready? You have to believe that something is more important than something else. And so you have to believe that your future is more important than today's fears. And so here's what I would say to you in a very vulnerable way. I am deathly afraid of being broke because I came from a communist country where people were not only broke financially, they were very broke mentally. And so for me, as just an individual, as a man who's 40, I refuse to be broke. I will do everything in my power to prevent being broke, because I don't want to bring a broke attitude and carry one around the rest of my life. So I have learned to take a broke attitude and break through that broken attitude. And the way that I stay ahead of that brokenness is to constantly focus on future. What am I doing? What am I building? Who am I serving? How am I growing? What are my goals for the year? Like literally, guys, I plan my goals and plan my year because I live in the future, not the past. The fears are nothing more than the past coming back to haunt you that are trying to speak negativity into your future. So you have to decide. Conviction is about future thinking. People say, well, you should live in the now. I don't live in the now. I live in the future. I operate as if my future self is counting on me. I operate as if my version of me from 2027 is requesting the version of me in 2026 to level up. If I only do what feels good today, then I don't actually invest in my tomorrow. And so I always think about my future. And I can tell you, 95% of the time, I don't think about my past. Very, very little do I think about my past. To the point where people are like, man, you bought 300 deals. That's crazy. Guys, I've literally forgot. That was in the past. I don't sit on it. I tell you about it so that you know it's true. I don't think about it. I don't sit there and count the deals that I've done over and over again. I don't relish in the only value that the past has for me, I'll tell you right now, is the lessons that I get to teach you to help you avoid the same pain that I've gone through. That's the value of my past. Oh, and by the way, that'll be the value of yours. Conviction is to say, my future self is counting on me. All right? My daughter is counting on me. Future generations are counting on me. Whatever, if you're a person of faith and you know that at the end of your life, you have to account for what you've done with it. And I guarantee you in 30 years from now, whatever person you're afraid of will judge you and criticize you. It will not matter. So conviction is this: my future is bigger than my fears. That's it. My future is bigger than my fears. I know I still have them. You still have a past. You still have trauma. You still have unresolved issues. You still have things that are trying to hold you back. I know that they are there. However, I've increased the presence of the future in my thinking and trying to decrease the presence of the past in my thinking. That's one way that I have found that I can break through. Cool? And here's what I'm saying. I'm saying that if that's the case, my future self deserves financial success. This is the next part that's very hard for a lot of people, is this word commitment, because it means different things to different people. Now, just so we're clear, when I think of the word commitment, a lot of people think about an activity. And so you might say, I'm committed to losing 10 pounds this year, or going to the gym every day and losing some weight. But a lot of people commit to I'm just going to go to the gym. When I commit, I really think about the outcome. And so I'm thinking about the 10 pounds more than I'm thinking about going to the gym. I really am. That's my brain. My brain says, if I'm doing real estate, I need to be very clear what mission I'm fighting. What hill am I climbing this year? And so let's go through that together because it's very important. I'll walk you through, if I was brand new, what I would do. I would say, okay, I'm going to break this down into kind of 3 categories of people who are here. There's the people who, I'll just try to be nice about this, have no money, but they have a lot of desire. That's one category of person, okay? No money, a lot of desire, and you're fairly committed to learning. Cool, that's one person. Then you have people who have some money and they have some desire, but they say they have no, time. And then you have people who have a lot of money, and you can replace money with resources, by the way. A lot of you are sitting on hundreds of thousands of dollars of equity that you have buried in the earth and have failed to use it wisely. I'll just tell you right now, if you want to go into the parables of the talents, we can talk about that too. Canadians, on average, have over $100,000 in RSPs and over $300,000 of equity. And I see people who are burying their equity because they're too afraid to use it. And they're afraid because, number one, there's a level of complacency because we've achieved a certain level. But a lot of people who have a lot have low desire. And even if they have a lot of time, they have no desire. And so this is what we have to think about. The amount of money that you have or don't have is not actually an indicator if you're going to win in this business. Why? Because I have students who have built an awesome business with $0. I also have students who have come to me with $1 million of equity, and they've instantly made 20 to 25% return on that money every single year by launching a business. Where you have to say is, what level of desire do I have? I guess some folks who have a lot of money and they have some desire and they're like, I just have no time. No, you just don't want to do this. This right here, the time, I understand why we have this because I've had it too. The time is nothing more than a priority. And most of us are only going to invest times in things that we guarantee we can get an outcome in. And so a lot of people will not launch a real estate business because they're an employee and they want a guaranteed paycheck. And because you can't get a guaranteed paycheck in real estate, we never try. Building a business, this is the hard part, is not about a guarantee. It's about an opportunity. And so if it's an opportunity, we have to be future thinking. If it's a guarantee, we're just trying to fill the basic void, the basic desire that we kind of have. We don't hate our job, but we hate the job, but we don't hate it enough to make a real significant change. We hate the fact that we're struggling financially, but we don't hate it enough to make a change because change is very hard. And so here's how we get very committed. Number one, we have to understand what is possible. And so we do 30 days to the deal to help you understand what is possible. So here's what's possible. Number one deal every 30 days, extremely possible. Okay? Now, that's possible. Here's the next word, because I get a lot of possibles. The other thing that's very important is to ask is what's probable? And probability depends on your level of input. And so here's what I'm going to say with Coach Sean. Coach Sean, myself, Coach Dennis, Rianka, Shelly Blank, people who have been doing this business for months or years, we are very clear that input will help us increase probability. But if we don't have input, then we're not increasing probability. And so there's input of time And once we have enough time and we've done more, then we can do it better. And so at some point, it's actually working less, but working smarter. But let's kind of really talk about this. This is what you need to think about in 2026, okay? If you actually did this, you would be in the top category of investors. Let's kind of look at this. I'll start with the most basic thing. If I focus on getting new leads every day, and these are free or paid, doesn't matter what city in Canada or the US, you as a Canadian or as an immigrant or as a resident can buy real estate. And so we need leads every day. What we need is conversations. And that's why we have tools and training for this to help us amplify this so we can spend less time and make more impact. And then we have to. There's no way around making offers. And so for me, the big component here is this. If you actually did this, this would be legendary. But if you said, I'm going to go ahead and do 3 offers a week. Now, these can be verbal or these can be written. If you did 3 offers a week, you would probably have about 12 offers a month, okay? Which means, in my opinion, that every 1 to 2 months, you would have a really good quality offer under contract. If you did this and it took you 2 months, that would be 6 deals under contract in the next year. The average property that we lock under contract, we start at 30%. We end up between 30 and 20% discount. So let's do some basic math. If I'm buying properties in the GTA, let's just say in the cheaper part of the GTA, and real estate cost me $500,000, and I'm getting at least 20% off, that means that I'm buying properties for $400,000 that are worth $500,000. And so I'm capturing $100,000 of equity. If I do that every 2 months, I have captured $600,000 of equity. Now, your emotional brain's going to say, that's stupid. That's crazy. That's impossible. What I'm going to tell you is it's highly probable. See, you're so used to getting paid what you get paid that when I say $600,000, $1 million, you're like, that's got to be a scam because I made it $85,000 last year and I worked my face off. I know you did, but you worked with a ceiling. Real estate has no ceiling. Real estate will reward people who put in the effort, and some deals will pay you 20% equity, some will pay you 10, some will pay you 30. That's it. Santiago can go get a deal right now that will reward him with a 15% equity. That's not hard, but he's fighting to get 25. And so he's challenging himself to do better. So 600 grand of equity. If we actually did that, well, how does that make us money? So what? We captured equity. Now we have to go buy all this real estate. If we had $600,000 of equity captured, and these are properties under contract, just to give you some context, we have $600K captured, okay? Well, Ben, how big are the deposits? The deposits can be as small as $1. Most of my properties, I will tell you, I have purchased in Canada at least 100 properties with $100 deposits. This is knowledge and training, not whatever your real estate agent is telling you, okay? Here's what you can do. Number 1, you can choose to not close on any of the real estate, but simply find another investor who actually wants to close on the real estate. A guy like me. A guy like me will say, hey man, you got all this property under contract. You got 20% off. I'll tell you what, if you give it to me for 15% off, I'll take the properties off your hands. If you only had 5% of that, or in this case, if you would have had 25% of that number, how much money would you actually wholesale in the next year? Can somebody tell me? So you gave me a huge discount. You got 20% off. You gave it to me for 15% off. So you got 5% of 600,000. What's that number? Come on. Right. And so you're like, how does somebody make $30,000 extra per year? You lock up 600 grand of value. And by the way, this is a very conservative. This is not like some home run deal. You gave me most of that equity as a buyer. This is actually a win for the buyer. Now you could be greedy and say, I'm going to keep half, and you can double that and make 60 grand. That's option number 1. Okay. Then you can say, well, option 2 is I can close on this stuff, and you can do what Rianka does. Learn a better way. Rianka joined the community, made a commitment, did incredible work, her and her husband, Heinrich, both of them. And so they've started using the power of the internet to do money raising webinars. And so now the problem isn't necessarily raising money for their deals. They have money for their deals. Now they're growing their business. Now they have to think about hiring and other stuff. And I can tell you, we have a lot of great stress with Rianka and Heinrich because they're growing so quickly. They're like, why don't we both just quit our jobs? Why don't we both, in the first 6 months of starting our business, just quit our jobs? Both of us, not one of us. That is game-changing, record-breaking. Can you imagine this? A husband and wife with 3 kids, both of them quitting jobs in 6 months. Isn't that wild? Does it require some training? Yes. Does it require a big level of commitment? You betcha. Does it require up-leveling the way they think? Absolutely. Accountability? Totally. All right. Webinars. You capture this, even if you resell this on the market, you can wholesale and make 30 to 60,000. We can put this on the market, and probably in the first year, even if we didn't do a great job, we can probably make 300,000. Or for those of you who are landlords, you just keep the properties, learn how to do syndication, and now you're adding $500,000 to $600,000 a year of equity to your properties. That's probably growing at 1% to 5%, depending where you live in the country, per year in appreciation. I'll wrap up with this. We often underestimate what we can accomplish if we're focused. All of you are underestimating what you're capable of in 12 months because you're allowing your negativity and the fear and the things to lower your level of commitments. Instead of being all in, you're kind of in. And unless you fix this problem, you're not going to have time after. We are in the creating profit business to free up your time from being a slave for somebody else.